Okay. Does everybody see like a little red button?
Hi, baby.
Recording.
Mwah. Love you. Okay.
So I think it's recording. If everybody can see a little red button that says recording. One time I thought we were recording, we weren't. So I always like to double check that people see a recording button.
Yeah.
I just want to thank everyone so much for being here. Mine and Ilana's team, who it's just me tonight, and everybody from Meredith's team, and a huge shout out to Meredith for doing this for us this evening. As we were saying before, for those of you that were on earlier, Meredith and I were sitting at a pool back in December in Arizona discussing like different topics. And she said that she's really good at this topic. And I was like, I need a heck of a lot of help with this topic. And I bet lots of people on my team need lots of help with this topic. And so here we are in May and we finally got it going. So
yes.
Thank you so much, Meredith. And I will let you take over.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Meredith Tucker, and I am a coach with LuLaRoe. I started my business the day after Thanksgiving in 2015. So we literally got our, 8 or 10 boxes of inventory the day after Thanksgiving. We had 0 leggings for 3 months. We didn't have any leggings. So that was what I would consider kind of my first big challenge. And fortunately, I was just telling my mom the other day that we chose to kind of work past that when a lot of people quit and gave up. And at this point, I'm extremely thankful. Didn't choose to quit or give up because the perseverance is what led us to the spot that we're in now. So I just want to tell you a little bit about my why. I know a lot of times we talk about our whys. I started out in corporate America. I was a marketing director for a large sinkhole company. Look at that cute baby, Tiffany. She's so cute. Sorry. Distracted by cute babies. And so I had a full-time job. I was extremely busy, but I was a LuLaRoe clothing. And I was actually able to convince my husband that we would save money by me becoming a LuLaRoe consultant because I wouldn't be spending so much money at full retail. And I would be getting the clothes at a discount. I would be the first person to open every box, which was the most exciting thing to me. And we could do this business as just kind of a side gig. So that was in November. We did our December, January, February. We're the slackers on our taxes. So like at the end of March, we went and talked to our CPA and took her some numbers. And she was like, do you realize what you've got going on right here? And we had no idea. We were just kind of selling the clothes for fun. And it was a hobby. And we knew we were extremely busy and something had to give, but we didn't realize it was at the level it was. So that's when we started talking about what can we do to make this a full-time business. And so in June of last year, I quit my job. I quit a couple months before that, but I worked it out. So I finished my job in June, and now I get to be a work-from-home mom. I have a 2.5-year-old. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, and I help a lot with the business, but he helps a lot doing other things around the house. For example, he's giving my daughter a bath. He is an excellent cook. So he does some other things around the house to make sure that we can keep this thing afloat. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of background about my. The thing that I'm going to talk about today is vendor events. And that was kind of how I built my business, through vendor events. That was a huge thing in our area. And I felt like I was able to really kind of capitalize on what was happening at vendor events. And that's when I kind of started to write down the things that were working out well for me. So I'm going to kind of go over these things. Now I do have dual monitors. So if you're like, what is she looking at? My notes are over here. So, don't think I'm like ignoring you or doing something else. But number one, so get out a pen and paper because I have 15 tips for successful vendor events. So I'm going to try not to be here all night. But if you have questions, let me know. And then of course, you can always get questions to Vicki and Alana. They can get them over to me, or you can find me on Facebook. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. So number one is have help. make sure that you have help. Do not try to go to a vendor event all by yourself. Number one, we all know that packing and loading your car and unloading it is a lot of work. So if you have somebody there to help you, my mom and I do this business together. She's pretty much always at my events with me. But I also have my husband or maybe somebody else help with the packing of the car, the unpacking of the car, getting set up for vendor event. Because the other thing is I live in Florida and it's hot, and a lot of the vendor events are outside. And so I don't want to get super ridiculously sweaty and look like a hot mess the entire vendor event. So I like to have somebody to help me for setup and breakdown, but also for manning your space, because a lot of times you'll be at a vendor event and you might have 10 people come up to your booth all at one time. And if it's just you, it's going to be a lot harder to kind of manage those people. So even if you take a really good customer with you or a friend in the business, or maybe a consultant in queue or a consultant on your team, just take somebody with you so that you can really kind of benefit from having full exposure to everybody at your event. The other thing is you may be talking to somebody about clothing and somebody else is ready to check out and whatnot. So it's a great way to kind of tag team what's going on. So that's number one, have help. Number two is bring everything. Don't leave anything behind, because the very first few vendor events, I would always leave my Annas at home because they were heavy. They took up a lot of space. And I swear every time I left them at home, that would be the first thing somebody asked for. Do you have any Anna dresses? And I'm like, yeah, I have 30 of them at home, but that doesn't do us any good here. So make sure you bring everything. And I am a firm believer in the more you have, the more you sell. So don't, if you can help it, don't leave anything behind. And I used to also have an issue with not everything would fit in my car. The past few vendor events we've done, we've rented a small U-Haul. You can get like a 5x8 enclosed trailer. It's like $20 for 24 hours. And we can just hook it up to the back of our vehicle. We can load it up with everything. You have more than enough room. And so that's an option if you're kind of like, not everything fits in my car. That's what we've been doing lately. And it's nice because we pack it up the night before, we put it in the garage, we pull it out that morning, and it's all ready to go. So just something to think about. Number three is search them out in advance. So don't try to look for vendor events that are happening next weekend. Look for vendor events that are happening 3 months from now, maybe even 6 months from now. And I know sometimes it's hard to think about that, but these people that are planning the vendor events, they're planning them way far in advance. The other side of that is we all know there's a lot of LuLaRoe consultants, and I can guarantee you if you see an event that's happening next weekend, there's a pretty good chance that there's already 12 LuLaRoe consultants that have wanted to do that event. Whereas if you're the first one to approach them 3 or 6 months in advance, you're definitely going to get a better opportunity to be able to be that one at the event. You can search for events. A lot of people ask me, how do you find events? Facebook, your current customers, your schools, your churches, your office buildings, chamber of commerce, networking groups. And there's a lot of different ways to find vendor events. Bridal shows, county fairs, community fairs. There's just a lot of different things that are going on. So you got to kind of get creative and think outside of the box when you're trying to find these vendor events. Number 4 is look for exclusive events. Now, what I mean by that is where it's exclusive to either the industry or at least the company. Because I will tell you that if you go to a vendor event and there's a Scentsy consultant and an oils consultant and, whatever else, somebody selling cookies and whatever, and there's 6 LuLaRoe consultants, you're definitely not going to have as much success than if you are the only LuLaRoe consultant. So this is for vendor events. I am not opposed to the multi-consultant events where it's a Lulapalooza and there's 10 LuLaRoe consultants. But just know that if it's a vendor event that's not a Lulapalooza, that you're going to have a lot more success if you're the only LuLaRoe vendor there. If it's an expensive event, so if it's $200 or $300, the vendor event, you split it with somebody else. So if it's a $400 or $500 vendor event and you think it's going to be good for your business, get somebody on your team to split it with you. She brings half her stuff, you bring half your stuff. I've done that before with some consultants on my team where we pay a larger fee and she brings classics and I bring Irma's, or kind of all through the line, or she'll bring tops and I'll bring skirts and we both bring leggings or something like that. So, there's definitely an opportunity to capitalize on the events, even if they're a little more expensive. Now, in all honesty, I've had my most success at the smaller community events that are $30 or $50 to be a part of. So don't feel like you need to be involved in a bridal show that costs $500 because you might not have as much success there as you would have at a smaller community event. The other thing about that is don't be greedy or pushy with your scheduling, because put yourself in the position of the event organizer. They may have had 12 or 15 LuLaRoe consultants contact them, and they may have some that were not very friendly, and you don't want to be that one, because when they go to plan their next vendor event, they're definitely not going to call on you if you were kind of greedy or pushy. I've also had other consultants contact me and say, hey, I was trying to get into such and such event and the event coordinator won't let me. So will you let me do it with you? No, that's not nice. And quite frankly, if I'm going to do a vendor event with somebody, I would have already found somebody. And it's probably going to be somebody on my team. So, just be cognizant of that. It doesn't really make yourself look good. And it doesn't put a good taste in the mouth of the event organizer when they're going to try to plan that event. So just keep that in mind. Number 5 is the KISS method. And I'm sure a lot of us have heard of this, and it's keep it simple, silly. So don't complicate it. You don't have to bring too much stuff. I've seen people go to vendor events with decorations and snacks and, all this kind of other stuff. And that's not what people are there for. They're there to see the clothes. So I'm going to show you what I take to vendor events. Obviously, you take your clothes. Obviously, you take your racks. But I'm going to show you what little bit of stuff I take besides that, because all the other fluffy stuff is not necessary, and it's not necessarily going to bring more people to your booth. The clothes are going to bring the people to your booth. So just keep that in mind. You want to talk to everyone. So that's number 6, talk to everyone. Don't sit down. I know sometimes it's hard, and I think that also goes back to having somebody with you. So maybe if you do need to kind of take a sit down break, you can do that when kind of nobody's in your booth and when your partner is there to help you. But do not, set up a table and sit behind the table and think people are going to come to you. My husband and I actually went to, I think it was like a blueberry festival or something. And there was a LuLaRoe consultant set up. And I was so excited. Like I literally kind of darted across the thing. So excited to go see her and see what she had. She literally was sitting behind her laptop. And she was like hiding behind the desk. And I tried to talk to her and she was like doing something. And I ended up just walking away. And I mean, I'm wearing LuLaRoe. I could have been like the perfect client. And I literally did not hardly say anything to her because she wasn't interested in talking to me. And you cannot be like that. You're not going to have success like that. So you have to make eye contact with people, because they're going to do their best. I mean, think about it when you're walking in the mall and somebody's trying to get you some perfume. You're like, if I don't make eye contact, they won't get me, or they want to curl your hair or straighten your hair or something. But make eye contact with people, compliment them. My mom and I, we always laugh, like, she'll compliment something and she'll be like, I love your socks. And I'm like, that was awkward, but I love your purse. Your hair looks great. Oh my gosh, where'd you get that? That's so cute. Oh, you've got a hot dog. Is that corn dog good? Whatever. But just start conversations with people and they're going to kind of be like, oh, well, she's kind of warm and fuzzy. She's not trying to sell me anything, which you're really not. You're there to gain exposure for your business. And then tag team people who visit your space. So like I told you, my mom a lot of times goes with me. So if it's an older woman that kind of comes by, maybe they have a similar style to her, I'll say hello or whatnot, and then I'll introduce them to my mom and kind of transfer them over. She does the same thing. And we're necessarily stereotyping age, But somebody who's, 60, 70 years old is probably going to feel more comfortable shopping with my mom, whereas somebody who's 20 or 30 is maybe going to feel more comfortable shopping with me. So you just got to kind of tag team that. My mom also doesn't do a lot of checkout. So she'll come over and she'll be like, hey, this is Susie ready to check out. I'll take Susie and I'll introduce her to Sally, and she'll kind of take over helping Sally. So it's just kind of that back and forth. And it's not going to be perfect from the very first time, but you and your partner that's working the show have a little pep talk, maybe come up with some signals or something, and you'll learn to get better over time. So just keep that in mind. Number 7 is giveaways. You always need to do a giveaway because a lot of people are really going to just be there to browse. Now, depending on the type of event, depends on kind of my giveaway. A lot of times I do a gift, Lula cash or a gift certificate or something like that, whatever you want to call it. And I normally do $50 because $50 is a little bit enticing, where if you do 5 or 10 or 20, they can kind of like walk past that. Whereas when you're like, oh, it's a $50 gift card to shop with us, they're like, oh, okay, cool. And they will want to sign up for that. So that's a great way to kind of grab your browsers that are just kind of looking around. They don't really know about LuLaRoe. I always get their name and their email address because then I can send a follow-up email to them. And I always follow up and say, hey, my name's Meredith. I actually have an email service, which I don't necessarily think is necessary. I probably will be canceling it soon because it's just as easy to go to your Gmail account, do a copy and paste kind of message, say, hey, Vicki, it was nice to meet you at the Blueberry Festival. And here's a link to my group page. I hope you can come check it out. And then maybe you follow up with them a week later, or you kind of look to see if they actually joined your group. And if they do, then maybe you reach out to them and give them some guidance on how to shop or whatnot. Obviously, too, a lot of your vendor events are going to be local. So when you send them that follow-up email, inviting them to your next open house or something like that. So you have that contact information. You can maybe send a coupon. Hey, you didn't win the giveaway, but here's $5 or $10 to shop with me. And that might encourage them to come. These babies are killing me. They're so cute. Arrive early and stay late is number 8. And this was kind of from my corporate days. And it used to kind of bug me. But if the setup time is from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and the event starts at 11, get there at 8 a.m. and get set up by 9 a.m. because then your booth is all set up and you can go around and start talking to the other vendors that are getting set up. So you can kind of do the small talk. Majority of the vendor events I go to, the other vendors are my best clients. So you really want to make sure that a lot of times they know about LuLaRoe because they've done other vendor events and they're kind of familiar with it, and they'll come over and shop. At the last vendor event we did was the Crawfish Festival, and we probably sold $200 or $300 just to the other vendors that were coming over and shopping with us. So it's a great time to get your space set up and get out and start networking with some of the other vendors. And the stay late. You never know who you're going to run into, who's that straggler that was maybe just leaving the gym, happened to drive by as the event was ending, and they're interested in seeing what you have to offer. So, obviously if the entire vendor event is packing up, you could start packing up too, but I just don't encourage you to be the first one to start packing up. And if for some reason it's a vendor event that you can't stay the whole time, maybe have somebody from your team come or something like that. But just try to make every effort to be the first one there and the last one to leave. Number 9 is wear as much LuLaRoe as you comfortably can. And the reason I say that is because, again, we're in Florida. It's hot. I do not recommend you wear an Amelia and a Sarah and a leggings to an outdoor vendor event. You're going to be miserable. So, maybe an outdoor vendor event, you wear your leggings pulled up as capris, you wear a Carly and a Lindsay or something like that. I love the Madisons because they have pockets, so you can keep things in your pockets at vendor events. And maybe you have a classic tee, and a Lindsay, or maybe a Joy, the sleeveless Joy. Now, if you live somewhere where it's cold, great. Wear your Amelia and your Sarah. Wear your most expensive pieces, but please do not show up to a vendor event in leggings and an Irma, because people are already drawn to those items. They're not necessarily going to look at you and be like, oh, she's so cute, I want that outfit. You know, a lot of times they're going to see your Carleys or your skirts and they're going to be drawn to that. Yeah, my other note here is the Amelia and the Madison, they have pockets, and I will wear the Amelia with like a Joy because I like having the pockets. I can put my phone, your little checkout swiper thingy, some cards in your pocket. So that's a great way to kind of gain additional exposure or have room to put things. Number 10 is to befriend the event coordinator. And the reason I say this is because most of the time, whoever's coordinating the event is probably coordinating other events. So if you're super nice, maybe give them a pair of leggings, give them a $20 shopping credit, something like that to kind of encourage them and let them know that you're very friendly, you're very giving, and you're really excited about participating in their events. But the other part of that is they're going to give you better placement, because I promise you that the event coordinators have full control over where people are placed. And the person who was a real jerk over the phone is probably going to get the worst spot in the house. So just keep that in mind, that they're going to be kind of a buddy or an ally for future events. So just keep that in mind. Number 11 is to set goals. So set goals for your event. Know what you want to get out of the show. So do you want to sell a certain amount? Do you want to sell a dollar amount or a pieces amount? Do you want to get 50 entries into your giveaway? Most of the time, that's my goal, is because I don't always have high expectations of selling a lot at vendor events, but I have high expectations of the exposure that I'm going to get for my business. And that exposure is going to be worlds better in the long run than the pieces that you would have sold at the event. So make sure that you set goals, whatever that would be, and communicate that with your partner who's working the event with you, so they can help you to reach that goal. Number 12 is not quite a tip, but more of just kind of about events, but it's the type of event. So keep in mind the type of event that you're attending. Is it a shopping event or a non-shopping event? So I'm going to kind of break that down. So a shopping event is where people come to shop with money in hand. They're with their girlfriends and they're ready to spend money. So I know not all of you are local, but we have the Junior League of Tampa, and they do a holiday shopping market, and it's like in November, and they have a bunch of local community businesses. It's very expensive to get a booth space, and the LuLaRoe person has been doing it like 2 years in a row, so they were smart enough to kind of book it way back when, so no other LuLaRoe consultant can really get in at this point unless they give it up. But it's a shopping event. People literally come out of there with like bags and bags of stuff. You don't just go to look around, you go to buy things for the holiday shopping market. So that's an example. So women's expos, holiday bazaars, craft fairs, people are there to buy. Obviously you're going to have your, lookers, your kind of browsers, but for the most part, people are there and they're somewhat prepared to spend money. The non-shopping are obviously non-shopping events where the shopping is kind of secondary to whatever else is going on. So for example, a concert. If there's a concert going on, people are not necessarily there to spend money. They bought a ticket. There might happen to be vendors there, but it's not necessarily prepared to shop. A cook-off or a car show, those are non-shopping events. So obviously people may shop, but they're not necessarily prepared for that. They're not necessarily geared for that. Also like family-friendly type events. So when I think of a car show, I think of, husband and wife and their 3 kids come to the car show. Well, husband and the boys are really excited and the girls are just kind of along for the ride. So they might be excited that something is here, but they just might not be in a position to spend the money. So just keep that in mind when you're setting your goals and when you're preparing your events. Picking the events that you want to be a part of, make sure you're picking a good mix of both of them so that you can get the most bang for your buck, whether it's exposure or sales. Number 13 is stay off technology and stay engaged in the event. So there's nothing worse than you're at an event and somebody's like, Scanning Facebook, nobody is going to come talk to you. I can promise you that, because you're not open, you're not friendly, you're not inviting, and you're not interested in them. So they're not necessarily going to show interest in you. So make sure that, if you have to tell your VIP group, hey, I'm at an event, I'm going to be pretty much unavailable. Maybe you post a picture of yourself at the event. Hey, come see me. But I'm going to be kind of unavailable. Or maybe, you have your partner kind of checking in on stuff. Or, if you really need to take a call or answer a message or something like that, step away from your booth space. Again, that goes back to having somebody with you where you have that opportunity. If you have to go to the bathroom or something, you have that opportunity to kind of walk away. But just make sure you're interested in the opportunity, interested in the event, because you don't want to miss an opportunity. Number 14 is stay in your space. There is nothing worse than being at a vendor event and the person next to you is like coming into your space, or like you're talking to somebody and somebody else comes over. Hey, did you hear about DirecTV? And you're like, you jerk, I'm talking about my stuff. So just be respectful of the other vendors around you. What I always like to do is kind of create like a U shape, and then you invite people in. So instead of having like a rack and a rack and a rack where they're going like up and down, set it up like a U shape, racks on the end and then a rack right here, and invite them into your space, invite them in to kind of look, invite them under your tent, so that you can really get the best exposure. And then you can say, hey, feel this shirt. It's so comfortable. Look at this outfit I put together, and whatnot. So invite them into your space versus kind of talking to them out in the open. And number 15 is personally my favorite, and what I think is the absolute most important thing about vendor events, and that's have fun. If you need to bring music, or, have some friends come hang out with you, or, you're throwing confetti or whatever. But I can't tell you how many times I've kind of like dreaded an event because I know it's an all day event. It's going to be hot and, I might not have time to eat lunch, but I end up having so much fun. And there's been vendor events where I've paid $100 and I've sold $200. So you barely make up for the money that you spent, but the exposure that your business can gain from these events is worth so much more money than, the amount of sales or the amount of money you spent to do the event. So, bring music, do a little dance, invite people in, kind of cut up with them, but enjoy yourself, because most important, if this business is not fun majority of the time, then you're not doing it right. So obviously there's stressful things, and especially once, a lot of you on here are already leaders, and as you become leaders, you're going to realize that there's things that happen that are very stressful. But especially events should be kind of a reprieve from that, where you get to go out, have a good time, meet other women, meet new people, and kind of, step outside of your box a little bit. So those are my 15 tips. I just wanted to show you real quick what I bring to a vendor event. Obviously, I bring all my clothes, I bring my racks, but this is pretty much the only other thing I bring. And it's a 31 tote. You can see it's got 2 pockets. It's got some pockets on the side. I think these are like maybe $30 or something. Mine is embroidered, remember to smile, which is always important. But I just wanted to kind of show you what I take. So I have shopping bags, and I have a lot of them because, of course, we want to sell a lot of stuff. They have pockets on the side, so I put my business cards in here and things like that. I always take some snacks because you might not get a chance to eat. And if you're at an all-day vendor event, bring, a cup of water, some snacks, pretzels. The little individual peanut butter cups are always great so that you can get a little bit of protein. This is literally the type of thing that I use for my Enter to Win giveaways. I don't have anything fancy. This is like a little pad of paper. These are Post-it notes. And I'll literally like hold them with my pen and say, hey, we're doing a giveaway, $50 shopping credit. Just go ahead and put your name right here, your name and your email address, and you just hand it to them. And majority of the people are going to be like, oh, okay. And they're just going to write it down. Very few people are going to be like, no, it's okay. I'm not interested. So just make sure that you're doing that. I have my cards, my rack cards. I don't use them in home. I pretty much only use them for vendor events. And then I have this blue box that I use for them to enter to win. So this is literally like the Teaks shoe box. And this is how they enter to win. So they fill out their name and email address here. They stick it in here, and we're good to go. And that is it. That's everything that I have in here. I have brought a pop-up changing booth before, but I don't even know that that's really necessary. Because either, for the most part, stuff runs pretty true to size. I mean, I think for most of us, if you've been a retailer for any amount of time, I kind of feel like I can look at somebody and I'm like, yeah, you're a medium, because we've been doing this so long. Or you could kind of say, hey, a medium normally fits like an 8 to 10. Is that about your size? Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect. This is going to fit you great. But also a lot of vendor spaces have places that they can go change. But for us in Florida, thing is people are all sweaty and I don't want them trying on my clothes anyways, if they're like stinky or so. That's just something to kind of keep in mind, but that's up to you. But that's it. And I always try to bring my mannequin, which that was something that kind of got left before we started doing the U-Haul because we didn't have room for it. But now I can put everything in the U-Haul. And I like taking the mannequin because you can put a super awesome outfit, grab a couple pieces of jewelry, and you can get some things, get the mannequin looking nice and people are going to be interested in that outfit. So that's that. I don't know, Vicki, do you have anything to add or does anybody have any questions?
Oh, I have a question. So I have everybody, okay, I'm telling you guys now, I think I have everybody muted right now. So if you have a question, you're going to have to unmute yourself. And if you can't,
okay,
I'll try to like scan and make sure that if it's not working, like you're giving me a signal. So you said, okay, so you said to take everything. So this is like one of our issues is that like when you have like, 1,500 pieces of inventory and you get a vendor spot that's like, how do you fit it all? So do you mean take everything and like leave stuff in the car so if somebody asks you run and get it, or like bring it all legit and set it all up?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, a lot of times I try to do the whole like befriend the event coordinator. So that was one of my tips where I'm like, hey girl, listen, I got a lot of stuff and I'm probably going to need a little bit bigger than a 10 by 10. So can you like put me on a corner or something, So that's kind of number one is I would try that route. Hey, can you give me a little extra room? Because I do have a lot of stuff. And I also kind of say like, hey, for me to get the most value out of it and your attendees to get the most value out of it, I need to bring everything. So if you could hook me up with a little extra space, that would be awesome. The other thing would be, to potentially purchase extra space. And so especially for your like county fair, your like smaller school events, it's $30. What's purchasing 2 spaces at $60? It's not that big of a deal. Your more expensive events, obviously that's not an option. So then what I would say is, it's kind of hard and you just kind of have to use your best judgment. I mean, I've done vendor events before where if you have, 10 of every size classic tee, maybe you only take 5 of them. But again, that goes back to the more you have, the more you sell. So if you're leaving them, that's something to consider. And the other thing that I would maybe think about, and I know Vicki, you're obviously, is it still cold where you are?
No, it's warmed up.
It's warm. Okay. So like for us, like right now, I'm not going to take Sarah's to an event. It's literally like 95 degrees and humid. And I promise you, I don't care who they are. They don't want to buy a Sarah. Now, if they come in your air conditioned house, they might be kind of open to buying a Sarah, but when it's 95 degrees and, sticky, wet and humid, they don't want to buy a Sarah. So I would leave those at home. But yeah, it's just, it's hard. But if you can bring everything, I highly recommend you bring everything. So I don't have a perfect answer for that.
Okay.
Does anybody else have questions? No.
Anybody have any questions?
Somebody's got to have them.
I'm trying to see if anybody needs to be unmuted.
Yeah, like flag us down if you need to be unmuted.
Okay, I'm gonna unmute because a lot of them don't have pictures, but if it gets too noisy, I'm gonna unmute everybody here, I think.
Yeah, I'll just watch your background noise.
Yeah.
Because they unmuted me.
Yeah. Do you want me to?
Thanks.
Lori, do you want me to mute you?
It's okay.
Lori, don't say anything inappropriate.
Oh, I won't. Maybe.
I'm always afraid I'm going to like say a bad word on a live sale or something.
One of my kids are going to come in screaming, which is not like that I'm worried about, but like normally actually happens when I'm doing live things.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Throw open the door. Mom, so-and-so. I'm like, yeah, okay, honey.
Yeah, I'm busy right now.
All right. Okay. So I think everybody's unmuted. Does anybody have any questions for Meredith? Oh, wait. That one's not muted. Okay. Jessica, now you're unmuted also. Oh, and Betsy, did you remute yourself or do you need to be unmuted? All right. Betsy, I unmuted you. Okay. Everybody's unmuted. If you want to remute yourself, then feel free. But otherwise, everybody is unmuted and you can feel free to ask questions.
Hey, it was all great information. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Thank you.
Did you say in the beginning, I missed like the first 10 minutes. Did you say in the beginning like where you find your vendor events?
I did mention that. So I can kind of run through that real quick. But basically, let me find. Okay, so Facebook. So you can search out vendor events on Facebook. I know in my community, we have like the Tampa Bay vendor event pages or, you know, there's like direct selling pages for your local area. So try to get on those because a lot of times the event coordinators will go to those kind of pages and they'll say, hey, I'm looking for such and such vendors or I have this event coming up. So Facebook is a good place to do that. Your current customers, so maybe putting something out on your VIP page, hey, you know, I'd love to be able to do an event with your school or your organization, maybe even looking at it kind of almost like a fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
But approaching your current customers, schools, churches, craft fair, bridal shows, your chamber of commerce, your local group, all of those kind of places typically, you know, those kind of organizations are typically putting on vendor events. So those are all great places to look.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Hey, we did one for one of our local firefighters, and I got in with our North Richland Hills is the city we live in. We got in with their spokesperson. We got in with the chief of fire. We ended up having the fire department show up at our house so that kids could take pictures on the truck, like all kinds of stuff. So get into your community big time because they'll all. We have a North Richland Hills rock group where people paint rocks and hide them in our city. And the lady donated a whole bag of rocks for kids to paint outside while their parents shopped. And like everyone just kind of came together and we sold like $30-something hundred in sales for just that one day. And there was like a stage 3 weather. So there was supposed to be a tornado and a lot of people didn't show.
Did you say 30,000?
No, 3,000, 30-something hundred. Sorry.
I was like, dang, where you didn't tell me that?
You would have seen that on my little page.
I was like, you should have been shouting that through the rooftop.
I know.
No, but I mean, 3,000 is
3,000. When there's a tornado and the weather's bad and all
Absolutely.
of that. So get in your community because in the Chamber of Commerce, I love that you said that because we're getting in with ours.
Yeah, I'm actually in 2. We've got the Chamber of Commerce, and some of them are pretty inexpensive unless you have like a jumbo chamber. But for, you know, kind of one-off, you know, we only have like one employee, so we're considered like the small business. I mean, once I'm in, they were $150 annually, and then you pay like $1 a month to go to the lunches. So that's a great opportunity. What Kelly was talking about is making it almost a fundraiser route, but then you end up having a big event where you can get some exposure in your community. So that's
right.
Awesome.
Right. Well, we actually do open house once a month as well. So that was a fundraiser. You're right. That was a fundraiser, but
yeah, it kind of started as that, but it ends up being a community event and could potentially, you know, I mean, imagine if you kind of created a vendor event out of it, you know, and you're inviting other vendors, that could be fantastic. So.
Yep, for sure.
Any other questions? All right.
Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you so much, Meredith. That was amazing.
You are so welcome.
I looked like I was taking notes on my smartphone because I couldn't find paper in my bedroom.
That's okay. I have my notes, so I just saved them on my computer. That's why I was kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, if, like I said, you guys reach out if you have any questions. I know Vicky's doing the recording, so we'll be able to share that both on my team page and their team page as well. So just definitely reach out to us if we can help you in any way.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I hope I didn't make y'all road sick. I had to put my phone down and I was like seeing trees the whole time.
Oh, no. I wasn't really watching.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You're good. I'm looking at all the cute babies.
Aww.
It's a good thing you have one in your tummy because you have a huge baby fever.
Girl, it's so bad. Oh, if I wasn't pregnant right now, it'd be bad. Yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah, but this is it. I'm not like y'all having like 5 kids.
Yeah. Come on, I stopped before.
Smart girl.
Smart. Only 2. I can't get overrun here.
That's funny.
All right, ladies. Have a great night. Love you all. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Meredith.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.